Alan Stratton from As Wood Turns. Robert from Australia asked that I make a wooden egg. Wooden egg is basically a box, but with an egg shape. Now, I did one about a year ago for my granddaughters, and the video is out there, and you can see it there. But I decided to make this one a little different, a different spin, if you will, a segmented egg. So let's make a segmented egg for Robert.
As in all segmented projects, the first order of business is to prepare the segments. 8 segments per ring will be good for this size egg. Then glue them into half rings, glue the half rings into full rings. This wood is walnut scraps lying around in my shop. Although I could flatten each ring on my lathe, I prefer to sand each face on a large lathe-mounted sanding disc. Then with small pieces of double-stick tape, stick the newly smoothed disc to a piece of particle board and run them through a thickness sander to a uniform thickness. I'm marking low spots with a soft white pencil I purchased from an art supply store. The thickness sander does a better job than a planer with wild and cross grain. My planer would tear these up. In other projects, I take great care gluing the rings together. This time, I'm in a hurry and decided to glue 3 rings together at a time. I plugged the hole in the top rings by drilling it with a drill press and inserting a turned walnut dowel. Then I glued 2 sets of 3 groups of 3 together. About 30 pounds of weight will be the clamping pressure. I just need to be sure the rings don't slide around before the glue sets. In a solid wood box, I would first rough turn the spindle, then part off the top. We're now at an equivalent point, except that I don't need to part off anything. Wood faceplates replace tenons and a 4-jaw chuck. I like the faceplates here because I can take each half of the project off and on the lathe without worrying about getting it back exactly where it was. This now is the lid. I need to hollow it with a gouge followed by a round carbide scraper. I'll use a square carbide cutter to cut a very accurate straight mortise. I'm not necessarily a carbide advocate, but I have a basic assortment of carbide cutters and don't have a set of good scrapers with the shapes that I need. They're on my wish list. I'll sand and finish the interior of the top at this point. Now I've mounted the base of the egg. First, I'll cut a rabbet to fit the lid, and I'll use a square carbide cutter here. Whoops, I cut too much. The egg will be a little bit shorter. Whoops, I did it again. The egg will be a little shorter again. Finally, it fits and I can hollow the rest of the base starting with a gouge and finishing with a round carbide cutter. I'll sand and finish the interior of the base at this point. With the risky part done, fitting the joint, I'll finish rough turning the top and part it off the faceplate. Next, I'll put the top and bottom together to refine the exterior shape. I put a paper towel between the 2 pieces to stiffen the joint while I'm finished turning the egg. I'll use a couple of gouges. I'm using a mix of push cuts, pull cuts, and shear scraping. Now is the time to establish a good curve for the shape of the egg. I have a rubber stopper drilled to fit my live center. It's enough to hold everything together without damaging the wood. Since I need to reverse mount the base, I'm cutting a small groove just below the joint. I'll expand my 4-jaw chuck into this groove. Then I'll part off the base from the faceplate, reverse it onto the chuck, and touch up the curve on the big end of the egg. Go over, no conflict here between big enders and little enders. And voila, Robert! We have a segmented walnut egg. It needs a stand, but that would be the topic of another video. I think a simple ring would be sufficient. A hollow egg is a specialized box. I think the segmented approach added a special twist and a special touch of character. The segments make all the grain face grain, which makes turning go very smoothly compared to cross grain projects. So what treasures could you or your sweetheart hide in this beautiful egg? Be sure to like this video and subscribe to my website and YouTube channel. Safe turning makes for good turning. Please wear your face shield. Until next time, this is Alan Stratton from As Wood Turns.